It is 10:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It is the first day of May. It's May Day. It's May Day 2024. This is episode 891 of Bitcoin, and the Circle P is definitely open for business. And if I can get my Circle P up here, I will tell you exactly what's going on. Wow, here we go. Sovereignty in Style from the Leathermint.com. That is the Leathermint, all one word.com. Belts, wallets, passport holders, gold card holders, you name it, they got it. Well, maybe not. I mean, I guess they're probably not going to make you a man purse, otherwise known as a purse. But if they did, I guarantee you it would be stitched well and made out of the highest quality leather that you can find in all manner of colors. And not those garish, ugly ass colors. No. We're talking like good, nice, solid, slightly muted tone. It's great. It's great. It's just great. Hold on. There's an issue going on with the Zap.stream. Why? What the hell, man? This is weird. Anyway, the Leathermint's got a scarce.city auction going on. And I'm going to throw that in Zap stream right here so that you guys can see it. So the auction ends in a little over 1 day. Right now, the highest bid for this particular wallet that I will describe to you, hold on, just hold your horses, is 500,000 sats. And right now prices, that's about $284 for a wallet. And this isn't just any kind of wallet. I brought this wallet to you yesterday, and I really wasn't up on exactly what was going on, but after having looked at this thing, they've made a very special one. Here's the description. It's bull Bitcoin themed. All right, so it's got the bull Bitcoin thing stamped in it. They branded the leather with hot metal, so it's in there permanently. It's got a true block height signature backed by video. Now, the only thing that I can assume, because they don't have a link to the video, but the only thing that I can assume is it actually shows them branding the numbers 840,000 into the wallet at the time that particular halving block turned over. That's the only thing that I can assume about that video. It is shell Cordovan and Pueblo colored leathers. It's fully lined. It has 8 + 2 pockets, and I still don't know exactly what that means. I just assume 10 pockets. Crease lines. It's got an NFC chip behind the bull, and it says it's customizable. So here's what I can only assume about what's going on with the NFC chip. That they've put a chip embedded into the leather, and that you can basically program that chip to function in whatever way that you want it to function. And most people, I would assume, would just turn that NFC chip into a Lightning wallet and just pay Lightning invoices at point of sale devices that have the ability to take NFC communications. It's really cool. I mean, if that's what they're doing, honestly, that's pretty as cool. It says it has a SATS chip behind the block height, which is a functioning private key. Again, they're not really filling me in on the details here, so I'm going with what I got, guys. I'm going with what I got. The whole wallet is RFID shielded, so you put your regular fiat credit cards in there, and nobody can, take a butt scan of your private information or your credit card. This is a wallet, a key, and a business card. See Twitter for more, but they don't actually give me the link to that particular tweet. So I don't know. I think that this is going to be the kind of wallet that if you were going to bid on something like a wallet, then this would be the wallet to bid on. Right now, there are 4 bids, and Node Runner is in the top spot with 500,000 Satoshis. And again, that ends up being about $284 at today's prices. So there you go. Now, I'm just going to leave this up here just so that you guys can check it out while app.stream. And let's get into Well, let's get into the news. And we all know what we're going to begin with. Kind of got to do it. Bitcoin Jesus has been arrested by the what, Pharisees? I can't remember who actually arrested Jesus and brought him to Pontius Pilate, but it was somebody who was a dick. But Bitcoin Jesus has been arrested. The DOJ arrests Roger Ver on charges of tax fraud. This is out of Bitcoin Magazine. Hoffman. Roger Ver, a prominent early investor in Bitcoin, famously dubbed Bitcoin Jesus, has been indicted by the Department of Justice on charges of mail fraud, tax evasion, and filing false tax returns. Ver was arrested over the weekend in Spain based on these criminal charges, and the United States seeks extradition for trial. The indictment alleges that Ver, formerly of Santa Clara, California, owned and operated MemoryDealers.com Incorporated and AgileStar.com Incorporated, both of which were involved in selling computer and networking equipment. Starting in 2011, Ver purportedly began acquiring Bitcoin for himself and his companies, amassing a significant amount by 2014, totaling around 131,000 Bitcoin with a value of approximately $240 million. And I do not know if that was at 2014 prices, whatever. Ver then obtained citizenship in St. Kitts and Nevis in 2014 and renounced his United States citizenship shortly thereafter in a process known as expatriation. This action subjected him to United States tax laws, including reporting capital gains from the sale of his worldwide assets, including Bitcoin, and paying an exit tax upon those gains. The indictment alleges that Ver provided false or misleading information to a law firm and an appraiser, concealing the true number of Bitcoin owned by him and his companies. This resulted in the preparation and filing of false tax returns that significantly undervalued the companies, and by 2017, Ver's companies still held approximately 70,000 Bitcoin, which he allegedly sold on cryptocurrency exchanges for around $240 million. Despite not being a U.S. citizen at the time, Ver was still legally obligated to the IRS and pay taxes on certain distributions, which he allegedly failed to do, causing a loss to the IRS estimated at over $48 million. The indictment stated, well, I guess maybe Zelensky would be wife out to a jewelry shopping trip. I don't think it's that much, and it certainly isn't worth all. They're sending a message. Acting Deputy Assistant Attorney General Stuart M. Goldberg and United States Attorney Martin Estrada announced the charges with IRS Criminal Investigations Cybercrimes Unit handling the case. An indictment is an allegation, and all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court. Okay, so here's the fallout, as you might imagine, was pretty intense. And it just happened to be at the time that we were coming into the Fed meeting, and there's like a Gaza, Israel ceasefire that may be in the works, and that's causing all manner of pressure in the oil markets. It was just essentially what I'm saying is conflagration of all these things that happened, and they just put the cherry on top of the cake with the whole Roger Ver arrest. Now, they could have done this shit at any time, but they had 10 years. It's been brought to my attention by somebody on Nostr that they have 10 years at the time of expatriation to do whatever it is that they're going to do to Roger Ver, everybody else. So this was the last year that actually filed charges. Now, here's the thing. Many people are losing their ever-loving minds that this is an attack on Bitcoin. I don't think it actually is. I think the timing is more of an attack on Bitcoin, actual charges themselves, and here's why. It wouldn't have mattered what assets MemoryDealers.com, agilestar.com. It wouldn't have mattered. It could have been condos in the south of France. It could have been gold bricks. It could have been coins. It could have been silver. It could have been a container full of Lamborghinis. If he had sold those and disposed of those assets and not reported, and Bitcoin was not involved in any of this, they would have done the same thing. Especially when it's like $50 million that they're going to be able to get. And again, that's a nice shopping trip for Zelensky's wife. For the rest of us, it's life-changing money. The IRS at this point, I don't think they care. They just want their pound of flesh, and they're going pound of flesh. So, in my opinion, especially if we link this back to Samurai, let's mix a little bit of Samurai into our hot fudge sundae here. Samurai was out there in public taunting the Department of Justice. Does not mean that I agree with DOJ's decision to arrest these guys. But holy crap. You're just poking the bear. Don't poke the bear. Every time you poke the bear, somebody gets hurt. And now it's going to be the guys at Samurai. But again, I don't necessarily think that Bitcoin itself was in the crosshairs. It does clearly send a message that, hey, we don't like self-custody, blah, blah, blah. But, they're not, I just don't think that it's directly, both of these events are not directly about Bitcoin itself. You're poking the bear. Don't poke the bear. Many of us have accidentally poked the bear, but we weren't out there just thumbing our nose at the bear while we were. Right? And both Roger Ver and Samurai guys, again, I don't think this is necessary. This is clearly theft. But that goes back to just what the IRS. It's just organized crime. Protection is, you're paying protection money to not be arrested. That's all it is. If they were actually doing something with money that was society, that would be one thing. They haven't done that, if ever, then in a very long time. It's just war after war. I am funding the literal killing of thousands and hundreds of thousands of innocent people, every couple of years, just because somebody gets their panties in a snit that Morton Thiokol and some of the other companies in the military industrial space didn't have good profits and didn't shareholders. I'm sick of it myself. And that's exactly what, if they recoup this $50 million from Roger Ver, they're just going to send it to you. Or they're going to send it to guys over in Jerusalem. Or they're going to send it to protests for Palestine going on college. It's definitely not going to be any. It's going to be. But with all that said, I honestly believe that we should probably not lose our minds over the situation, saying that this is that them just coming after Bitcoin, because we know that they can't. Not terminally, not to the very end. It's too widespread. The network is too ingrained, and the only way to really shut down the internet, you have to do it. And even then, some smart individuals are probably going to figure out a way around that. And I won't get into it, but I have nothing but hope for the human beings that on this planet, and I've seen them do some phenomenal things in the face of what look like there's no way you're getting out of this. So I don't really think that we should be thinking, oh, well, this is it. Dude, it's been it forever. It happens all the time. Honestly, people just need to calm down. You really need to calm down. Even in the face of the Cash App thing, which broke apparently for me this morning. Now, this is from NBC News. We'll just read the first couple of paragraphs. Federal prosecutors are examining the financial transactions at Block, owner of Cash App and Square. And this is Gretchen Morgensen writing for NBC News. Federal prosecutors are digging into internal practices at the Block, or at Block, a financial technology firm launched by Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey, discussing with a former employee alleged widespread and years-long compliance lapses at the company's two main units, Square and Cash App. Two people with direct knowledge of the contacts say. During the discussions, the former employee provided prosecutors from the Southern District of New York, of course, documents that they say show that insufficient information is collected from Square and Cash App customers to assess their risks. That Square processed thousands of transactions involving countries subject to economic sanctions, and that Block processed multiple cryptocurrency transactions for terrorist groups. Of course, they're bringing in the terrorists. Most of the transactions discussed with prosecutors involving credit card transactions, dollar transfers, and Bitcoin were not reported to the government as required, the former employee said. Block did not correct company processes when it was alerted to the breaches, the former employee told prosecutors and NBC News. Roughly 100 pages of documents the former employee provided to NBC News identify transactions, many in small dollar amounts, involving entities and countries subject to U.S. sanction restrictions like Cuba, Iran, Russia, Venezuela, as recently as last year. All right, so that's all we really need from this. So this is kind of interesting because Cash App has been around for years. And it was around for years before they even started offering Bitcoin services, like being able to buy Bitcoin, send Bitcoin wallets, and being able to currency and versa. This one has more. This one, I would think, sends up a red flag to me that suggests that the government is more concerned about the Bitcoin with Cash App than the Roger Ver and the Samurai thing. Now that might sound a little silly, but here's why. There's many payment processors out there, people that build point of sale devices, of which, Block does through their Square. So this one seems more convincing to me if we were to make an argument that the government is actually doing this because of Bitcoin. But there's no evidence here that they actually are. What this looks like to me is somebody that got fired that was committing corporate espionage because they were collecting data while they were there. The reason I say that is that this former employee provided 100 pages of documents. 100 pages of documents. This guy provided and the Southern District. Course is always in the mix. That sounds like somebody was in there and they were gathering information, and either they were gathering information because that's why they were sent in there as a spook, or the person got fired and grabbed what they could and immediately, because his or her panties were all in a snit, went all the way over to the federal, regulators and Department of Justice and said, look, they're doing shit illegal. There's no way any of these payment processors are going to be able to catch all this. There's no way. The regulations that have come up are so onerous and they've come up so fast, nobody can reconfigure. Nobody can. All of them are probably in the same boat. So here's the advice to companies. Treat your people well, don't fire them. And if for whatever reason you're planning to fire somebody because they just suck, which is no skin off of your nose, I get that, then don't put them in a place where they can, gather that much information, move them to a different department, keep them there for 6 or 7 weeks, and then cut them loose. Make sure the department that you move them to doesn't have anything that can even remotely be looked at as, it's just, we put them in janitorial. You're pushing them up for 6 weeks and then cut them loose. But this kind of shit, honestly, if it wouldn't surprise me if Square or Block didn't come back and sued the former employee, charges of, corporate espionage, for literally stealing their property, taking it off premises, and then providing it to, who knows? Will whistleblower protection protect this particular person? I don't know. Honestly, that the vagaries of all this is, lost on me. But of all the three things, Roger Ver, Samurai, Cash App, the Cash App thing is the closest to sending up a clear red flag that the government is going after Bitcoin itself. Well, that's just my take on it. So we had patiently waited until, April the 30th for the Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong to open. And they did. And then we immediately got a huge red dildo. This is out of Cointelegraph. Zhuan Sun is writing it. Hong Kong Bitcoin ETFs attract over $200 million on day one. And of course, shitcoin number one ETFs is, I just can't say the name. Hong Kong spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds have attracted more than 200 million in total assets on their April 30th date. According to data provided by Arkham Intelligence, the Bosera Hashkey spot Bitcoin and I guess I'll say it, ETFs have accumulated 964 Bitcoin and over 4,000 Ether, respectively, totaling $71.94 million in assets under management. Meanwhile, Eric Balchunas, senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg, revealed spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs created by China AMC have amassed 123 million in combined assets. And at the time of publication, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange has not updated the asset management spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs of Harvest Global, the third issuer. However, the combined turnover of these two ETFs has reached $23 million. The value of the assets solicited pales in comparison to their United States counterparts, where spot Bitcoin ETFs attracted nearly $4 billion in assets under management during their first week of debut and $4.5 billion in volume on January 12th alone. On the first day of trading on Wall Street, quote, "We tried to warn everyone to lower expectations regarding Hong Kong," commented Balchunas. That said, if you localize numbers, this was big. For example, China AMC Bitcoin ETF took in 123 million on day one, which already ranks it sixth of 82 ETFs launched in past 3 years in Hong Kong and top 20% overall, he added. Meanwhile, Hashkey wrote that, quote, "Importantly, non-Hong Kong nationals can subscribe for or purchase units of the ETFs if they meet local regulatory requirements, such as passing customer due diligence. In addition, Hong Kong crypto ETFs allow investors to subscribe for ETF units directly using BTC, and vice versa, which is not available for the United States counterparts." And according to an April 28th survey conducted by Hong Kong regulated exchange OSL, 76.9% of crypto knowledgeable respondents in the city plan to invest in the non-spot Bitcoin ETFs. Quote, "This positive investor sentiment powerfully points to the growing acceptance and importance of digital assets in the region's economy. Hong Kong is once again marking its place as the digital asset hub," commented OSL's executive director and head of regulatory affairs, Gary Tu. Despite the enthusiasm, Hong Kong crypto ETFs remain accessible only to the city's estimated 6.4 million adult residents. Mainland Chinese investors, whose numbers are north of 1 billion, are currently barred from accessing ETFs until they possess a Hong Kong residence permit. So that's the story, and we're sticking to it. And looking at the numbers, the first day, it looks to me like there was less than $4 billion actually inflowing into the ETFs. And I'm getting that from the block. I think it's theblock.com. They have an entire section on the ETFs and what the flows and assets under management are like. And if you look at it, 200 million compared to what they did drag in the United States, actually, Eric's right. It's kind of impressive considering that there's only 6.4 million people living in Hong Kong as it is, which, I mean, Mexico City is like 25 million people. I'm actually surprised Hong Kong doesn't have that, that many more residents than it already does. But be that as it may, it was still a pretty successful launch. And then we immediately hit to the downside. What are you going to do? It's like, we're just going to bounce around part of the price thing. And here's the thing about the giant red dildo that happened again this morning. Hats off and pour one out to the 58K gang, because they can't have it in either direction. We shot up through 58K within a blink of an eye, and we went down through 58K within an eye. Greg and crew at the 58K club, I'm sorry. Now, getting into some dirty business, coal. This $2.8 billion coal miner has been mining Bitcoin too. Decrypt Andrew Thorvallis, a coal mining company, has revealed that it has quietly been mining Bitcoin over 3 years. Alliance Resource Partners, listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange under the ticker ARLP, disclosed the crypto initiative during its first quarter earnings call. Quote, "It was just an opportunity that we saw due to the fact that we've got excess power at our mining operations," said Kerry Marshall, Senior Vice President and CFO of Alliance. The search for a way to monetize those spare resources led the firm to purchase Bitcoin mining equipment in 2020 and 2021 during one of the largest periods of price growth in Bitcoin's history. Today, Marshall said the Boulder, Colorado-based company holds 425 BTC on its balance sheet, worth $25 million as of writing. ARLP has a market cap of $2.8 billion, which is up 6% over the last 5 trading days, although it's probably down today. The disclosure means Alliance has been involved with Bitcoin roughly as long as MicroStrategy, the world's largest Bitcoin holder, which purchased its first BTC in August of 2020. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy bought like another 215 Bitcoin. And then immediately we got the red dildo. It amazes me how this works. It's almost like somebody has it out for Mike. I don't know. Anyway, quote, "We're not actually out there buying Bitcoin, anything of that nature. We're mining the Bitcoin associated with the miners that we have." Marshall's claims are supported by the firm's first quarter 8K report filed with the SEC, which says it held $30.3 million worth of digital assets on its balance sheet. Alliance's embrace of Bitcoin is one example of how BTC mining can benefit the energy industry at large, albeit via a non-renewable source. Digital currency mining is location agnostic and dynamic enough to be quickly curtailed when market conditions turn unfavorable, making it a flexible means of demand response. Quote, "Alliance Resources' foray into mining is a logical step, considering the process's ability to harness underutilized electricity and its economic advantages," Nishet Sharma, founder at Bitcoin mining research firm Blocksbridge, told Decrypt. Quote, "Over time, we anticipate the emergence of more Bitcoin mining pilot projects initiated by other prominent firms," Sharma added. Alliance claimed that its miners are utilizing already paid for yet underutilized electricity load, implying that the firm isn't burning any additional to mine BTC. However, some think Alliance's reveal could still be a bad look for Bitcoin, which has been criticized by nonprofits and regulators for the environment. Yeah, we've got better things. CH4 Capital co-founder Daniel Batten said he is hesitant to jump to conclusions about the company until conducting research, but conceded that Alliance's involvement doesn't help the cause of pro-Bitcoin environmental. Quote, "I suspect that nuance will be lost given the low standard of analysis on Bitcoin environmental impact by GPUs. And hold on. I'm going to say that again. I suspect that nuance will be lost given the low standard of analysis on Bitcoin's environmental impact by, in all capital letters, GPUS, and many traditional media outlets to date. Batten told Crypt. I'm not yet convinced that it would have been burnt off anyway. Okay, so we got a coal company that is getting into it, and it appears to me that they're just using the excess energy that as they burn coal, produce electricity, it's actually not being used by the grid, so they're just forking it over to some big and have clearly done fairly well. And it's interesting because I kind of thought we would see more oil companies getting into this than a coal company, because I will admit, of all fossil fuel, coal is probably and a lot of that has to do with sulfur dioxide, not as much as the CO2. Everybody keeps freaking out about CO2. The sulfur dioxide associated with coal burning, that can be a problem if you don't have proper scrubbers. But what's worse is the coal mining. Coal mining is dirty business, and it's got huge potential for environmental catastrophe downstream of any watershed that it happens to be sitting on. Simply because when you pull that much stuff out of the bowels of the earth and on the ground, it's going to get into the water. There's shit in coal that you don't want to have. I wouldn't go bathe in a barrel of crude oil. I certainly wouldn't want to pour it out on the ground. Well, coal's sort of the same way. And there's just it's inevitable. When you mine coal, it's going to cause some real happen to the. But at least they're not letting the. All right, where are we at here? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to move this to the side. We're going to run the number. CNBC futures and commodities. What do we got over here? We've got oil is taking it on the chin today. And this has everything to do with that whole Gaza thing. 3.53 to the downside brings West Texas Intermediate to $79. Brent North Sea is down 3 1/3 to 83.48. Natural gas is down 2 1/3 to $1.94 thousand cubic feet. And gasoline is down 3.8% to $2.58 a gallon. Shiny metal rocks are mixed. Gold is doing well. It is up 1/3 of a point to $2,309.08. Silver is up 1/4 of a point. Platinum is up 2/3 of a point, but copper is down 1/2, as is palladium. Biggest winner in ag today is, who's got it? It's going to be corn. 0.78 to the upside. But chocolate is taking it on the chin again. Big kick in the crotch. 14% to the downside. So I don't know what the hell's going on with chocolate. Fungal. Live cattle is down 1/2. Lean hogs are down 1 3/4, and feeder cattle are down 1 1/3. The Dow is doing okay. It's up 1/4%, but the S&P is down 1/4. The NASDAQ is down over 1/2, and the S&P Mini is down scant. And Bitcoin is down as well, as you might know. $57,830 brings us to a $1.14 trillion market cap. You can only get 25.1 ounces of shiny metal rocks with your coin, of which there are 19,692,499.24 of. Yeah, let's see if you can do that with United States dollars, the supply of gold, supply of silver. Average fees per block are 1/3 of a Bitcoin, and the unspent capacity in Whirlpool is down to 9,928.59. So it looks like Whirlpool is being drained. Even though I don't think people that have their sats in Whirlpool worried simply because it stands alone. It's just out there. It's not really controlled by anybody but the people actually using it. And using it, like actually putting their Bitcoin to it. It just operates. So I really don't think a mad ass rush to the exits is required, but you should keep your own counsel on what blocks. How many are there? 240. 240. 240 blocks are carrying about 200,000 transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 23 Satoshis per V-byte. That's about 87 for action, and low priorities at 20 Satoshis per byte. Everything under 5.6 Satoshis per byte are being purged from imports around the world, and hash rate is holding at 562 exahashes per second. Now, before we get into the boostograms, the ask is this: to support Bitcoin, the podcast. Support me, your podcaster. I bring you news as much as I can. I try to do it in a way that, doesn't make people sad or doesn't, I don't know. I try to keep the hopium at a minimum as well and just give you a neutral view of what's going on. Think that what I do is valuable, then please send boostograms, up your Satoshis per minute when you're streaming to podcast apps, and, boost me over there on Nostr. Honestly, it's the only real way that I love the Circle P. I love the people at Circle P. I simply bring them to you as advertisers because they don't have the money to advertise. They don't have support. If I can give them support, that's why So I'm asking for you. And for all of those people that are not using a Podcasting 2.0 app, which is how you give me boostograms, it's how you support the show through streaming. I have for you podcastindex.org/apps. You can also go to new podcast or search Google for new podcast apps with an S on the end. Because whenever I do that and I actually go to the website, it resolves to podcastindex.org. I never remember what the actual URL is. But this on podcastindex.org/apps, you'll find a list of, in this case, I'm going to read you the list of Android and iOS podcast apps you can use, and you'll get chapters. Like some of them have like transcripts. I transcribe all of these episodes now. So since I provide a transcript when I'm uploading to my host, podhome.fm, that transcript, generally speaking, will go through to the other podcast apps like TrueFans. TrueFans is Podcast 2.0. So is Podverse, Podcast Guru, Fountain App, which is My Daily Driver, Disctopia, Metacast, Pocketcast, Breeze, Sphinx.chat, Podvine, Moonbeam, Zion, Overhaul, Playapod, Satoshis.stream, and Speaker from iHeart. Anyway, so all of those, like TrueFans and Podverse, you can use to boost Stream Me Satoshis. You can use these things to support the show, but moreover, it's Podcasting 2.0. The legacy podcast apps, at this point, I can't even look at them. They don't do anything. They don't give me chapters. They don't give me artwork. Well, I think Apple Podcasts does now, finally. But Podcasting 2.0 has been doing these things forever. There's many features in Podcasting 2.0. Not using one of the new apps, you're really missing out. Tell your friends about it too. Let's see if we can get everybody to move over to where people can support the people that they want to listen to directly, instead of having them depend on pennies falling from heaven from like Spotify, because that's just now from Country Non Grata, which was episode 890 of Bitcoin and Richard Greaser boosted me 5,000 sats and says, David, where did you go to journalism school? You know, I never actually went. I guess I forgot. Richard Greaser. That name sounds familiar. Oh, yeah. That's Dick Greaser. Oh, and if I had my mind about me, I would tell you what it's not no bullshit book. It's one of the publications that is like a satire. You find them on Noster. Damn it, Dick, do me a favor. If you're listening, make sure that you lambast me on Noster so that I will get the name straight and never forget it again. I've read pieces on the Bitcoin and podcast from them on at least a couple of occasions. It's a great piece, and I want to promote it. Bubba with 2112, that's a full rush boost, says, ditch the CB 15 years ago. The satellites and tracking software are in full force. They know where I am every minute of every day because the whole world has gone insane. Communication is a Tower of Babel. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. There's no way that I'm going to argue with my friend, although I honestly am freaked out that he ditched the CB radio. That's a kind of a critical piece of equipment, but he knows his business more than I do, so I'm not going to say anything. The Bird with 1,000 says, USA, 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 freest nation on earth. The tagline that used to make it seem great are no longer applicable. You are nothing but tax cattle to be dry slowly. Yeah, no shit. But my taxes support me. Hashtag all sats matter at allsatsmatter.com with 121 Satoshis. Thank you, brother. Kenneth Lloyd with 500 says, nothing. Pies with 420. Thank you, sir. No, thank you. God's Death with 337 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. And the Bird with 200. So does that mean I get my taxes back that I may have paid since it's no longer property, but currency? I don't know. We could all win that. All right. That's it for the weather. Part 2 of the news that you can use. I got to get my guys back. There we go. Okay. For the guys over in Zap.stream, Tom Finnegan, thank you for being here and everything. Satoshi, hey man, LFG yourself, pal. All right. Coinbase starts rolling out Lightning Network support in partnership with Lightspark. Coinbase has finally introduced the Lightning Network to its customers, fulfilling a promise made by Brian Armstrong last year, April of, last year. It took them a year to get Lightning online. It's just disgusting. Anyway, starting today, support for the Lightning network via Lightspark will begin rolling out. Bitcoin is one of the most important assets in crypto, and since our inception, we've continued to support the ecosystem through our exchange and numerous investments. Let's see if there's anything else of importance. Thrilled to be part of this journey to bring Lightning to hundreds of millions of people in over 100 countries. Big milestone for the entire network and for Bitcoin. Let's go, David Mark, CEO, founder of Lightspark, said. Next, yeah, I will agree. Coinbase's Lightning Network integration is not available in all regions, however. Cost comparison between the Lightning Network and the traditional Bitcoin not apply to all transfers, clarified in a blog post. Okay, so just take that last one to mean the following. You're not guaranteed that they're going to select Lightning for you as your parent network of your wanted network of action. I don't use Coinbase, so I don't know how this is integrated. Right? I haven't used Coinbase in years, since like 2016 or 2017 or something like that. After 2017, I definitely know I just stopped using it. So I don't know how they're integrated. I can't imagine them not allowing you to select whether you to do a Lightning transaction or a main chain transaction. If anybody has like credible information on exactly how they're implementing this, please let me know. Now, my node version 0.3.28 has been released. My node is the software that I use on my Raspberry Pi to run a Bitcoin full node as well as my Lightning Network. I have really enjoyed my node. I've been using them for, I think I'm on my fifth year of running a full node on, it's probably 4 years. We'll go with 4. I'll be conservative and I'll say 4 years on the same Raspberry Pi. I've had no problems with software nor my unit. However, very soon, I think I'm going to switch over to a Start 9 simply because I'm starting to get a little worried about the fact that my Raspberry Pi has been operating this long without a hitch. And a backup is probably called for. Anyway, my node is a free and open source Bitcoin and Lightning node and management interface optimized for uptime, reliability, and ease of use. And they are completely very easy. So what's new in this release? They're upgrading Bitcoin to version 26.1. They're upgrading LND to 0.17.4, upgrade LN bits to 0.12.5, upgrade Loop to version 28.1. They've resolved an issue with DB and backport updates. They've removed Dojo and Whirlpool from the marketplace. Of course they did. They don't want to be swept up into this bullshit. Yeah, so that's it. They've upgraded their own software and they are offering other software as well. Anyway, so the issue that they took Dojo and Whirlpool down shouldn't surprise anybody because they're coming after all of us, whether you're in Bitcoin or not. See, this is what I don't think people understand. Oh, if you're not in Bitcoin, you're safe. Bullshit. Nobody is safe with this crew of miscreants running. None of these people need to be sharing air with us at this point. They don't bring anything to the table except misery and destruction, wholesale physical destruction of property and people. They don't do anything. They have horrible money spending, habits. They spend their money on the wrong things, namely death and destruction. They steal money from everybody they can. They engage in some of the most ludicrous behavior we've seen. None of these people need to be on this planet. And yet we have to deal with them. And apparently, it seems to me, we're going to put up with this behavior for a lot longer than I ever thought possible before. It's sad, but it's true. One of these days, we will hit a breaking point with humanity. And humanity will just fight back against the lizard people. I don't know. But before that, Binance founder CZ has to spend 4 months in prison. They gave him months. I actually saw a headline where it said, Binance founder sentenced to months in prison. Not 4 months. It just said months. Like years. And all of a sudden, all I could think of is that the meme where it's like, there are dozens of us. 4 months. God. Binance founder CZ was sentenced to 4 months in prison for breaking anti-money laundering laws at the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. He received a significantly reduced sentence of 4 months from a Seattle federal court, much less than the 3-year term federal prosecutor pursuing. Quote, there's no evidence that the defendant was ever informed of illegal activity at Binance. Even I call bullshit. The court finds the defendant has accepted responsibility. Everything I see about you and your characteristics are of a mitigating nature, the judge said to Zhao before handing down the sentence. What the hell is that? I think the first step in taking responsibility is to fully recognize the mistakes. Here, I failed to fully set up a KYC program. I also recognize the importance of having robust KYC AML programs. That is why I directed Binance to cooperate. United States investigation, Zhao said before hearing the judge's decision. In November, Zhao pleaded guilty to failing to implement money laundering finance. He also resigned as Binance CEO and committed to a $4.3 billion payment to settle related allegations. So he basically bought off that 3-year time. Honestly, 4.3 billion might have been worth the 3 years, cooling your heels, writing a book, federal. I don't know. Nobody wants to go to the penitentiary, but $4.3 billion? Holy smokes, dude. That's a lot of bread. Okay, so let's end it with the Samurai Wallet co-founder, Keon Rodriguez, pleading not guilty, and he has been released on a $1 million bond, which means that he had to put up $100 in cash to get out. That's the way it works in the States. 10% of whatever it is that bail is set at, that's what you got to bond. He pleaded not guilty to 2 criminal charges tied to creating, marketing the privacy-focused Bitcoin join tools in a Manhattan courtroom on Monday. Rodriguez was initially arrested at approximately 6 a.m. at his home in Harmony, Pennsylvania on April the 20th. A Pennsylvania judge subsequently released him on a $25,000 bond and ordered him to a magistrate judge in the Southern District of New York on Monday morning. Today, the judge agreed to release Rodriguez on a $1 million bond, accepting the conditions outlined in a bail package that both federal prosecutors and Rodriguez's lawyers agreed. Other than traveling to and from court proceedings, he will remain at home and will be monitored by location tracking technology, which is an ankle bracelet. His next hearing will be in Manhattan, May the 14th at 2 p.m. in front of District Richard Berman. And that's pretty much what I'm. The only thing that I'm surprised about is the bond was set at only $1 million. I'm surprised that he didn't get $5 million. Okay, so where are we at on Fourth Halving Wallet, which is the name of it? There are no new bids, and the auction ends in 1 day and 40 minutes and 50 seconds. That's called the Fourth Halving Wallet. It is at scarce.city/auctions/the Fourth Halving Wallet, and put hyphens in between each individual to it. Otherwise, you can just use scarce.city's search function. And if you've never heard of scarce.city, it's because they've just, I don't know why. I guess it's because they are really only talking about scarce.city and themselves over on Twitter. And since I spend almost no time on Twitter and almost all of my time essentially on Nostr, and they don't seem to really grok Nostr yet, they're not marketing. I just don't think that they're marketing themselves well. I reported on scarce.city when it first came out a couple of years ago. I was still living in Canyon, Texas, when they first hit the news wires, made the announcement that they have an auction house. But if you don't know what scarce.city is, just go and you'll figure it out. But the short end of the story is this: you can auction goods like a used amplifier. Like, I've got a really pretty Mesa Boogie Mark III. I'm thinking seriously about getting it. It's got a bad capacitor in it. Get it fixed and get it up on scarce.city because I can sell it for. That's the whole point. We want circular economies. We've got to do things like scarce.city. We've got to do things like Circle P. We've got to be willing to support our podcasters and our musicians and the people that produce the content that we want to consume. We've got to learn how to support them directly instead of depending on centralized platforms to take them away from us at any given time through their advertising dollars. Because that's what's gone on, is we've centralized all this stuff to these huge companies, and those companies are not doing well with advertising. The advertising model got to the point where it depended on tens and hundreds and maybe billions, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars flowing out of VC firms to continuously give them free money. And so advertising, and the way that advertising worked, and the clicks per minute and all the CPMs and all the other stuff that podcasters and musicians and Spotify and Apple Podcasts used as metrics, Turns out it was all a lie. And it wasn't really a lie as much as it was just nobody really knew what the hell was going on. Why? Because fiat money was flooding the system. And as we know, fiat money is nothing but noise. It suppresses the truth because nobody can see through the, meters and meters of bullshit that fiat actually is. And it's polluted everything. So again, support the people directly that produce the content you think is valuable for you to consume. That's the way that we get Bitcoin circular. It's not the way Bitcoin circular economies have to happen in multiple places and start growing outwards. So it can't be just once, it began because we were supporting our podcasters. No, that's not the way this works. It has to begin there. It has to begin at point of sale units. It has to begin at like 5 other places. And at one point or another, when the 2 areas of growth on 2 of these different places where Bitcoin circular economies, when they start to overlap with each other, wow, that's when you'll see some real fireworks, but we're not there yet. It's going to take you. It's going to take me. It's going to take all of us. That said, I will see you on the side. All right, let's see if I can get you guys rated in someplace. Who's doing it? Odell. I'm going to send you guys over to Odell. Hello. Odell. See if that does. Yeah, it looks like he's still going live. So I sent all of us over there to Odell's show, Citadel Dispatch. So tell him I said hi, and I will see you on the other side.